Hello and welcome to the 18th gathering of the Adventure Party on this, the 26th of July. I am your party leader, Brad Ludwig. We ask that you peace tie your swords, holster your blasters, and make sure that your character sheet is completely filled out while you're gathered at the meeting table. My second in command here is Glenn Bittner, and he is probably a little worn out from doing GlenCon this weekend. How did it go?
It went okay.
Okay.
It went okay. Attendance was down a bit this year, but that was expected. Having to run the con this year in the shadow of Gen Con next week, and this weekend was the weekend where everything happened in Milwaukee. So,
oh no.
Yeah, we were competing against the EAA, which is actually north of Milwaukee, plus the Lakefront Air Show, plus German Fest, plus 3 neighborhood festivals, plus perfect weather. So,
oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But, you know, I bet you the people that went there had a really great time.
Oh, they had a blast, and lots of games were played. That's what's important.
Excellent. I'm going to introduce Gary, and then we're going to talk about GlenCon to get Gary up to speed as to what that was all about. Our guest here is Gary Astleford, and he has an amazing list of credits to his name. He's worked with Wizards of the Coast, Green Ronin, Black Industries, Fantasy Flight Games, and the Game Mechanics. He is currently the senior content designer at Carbine Studios. The reason why we wanted to talk to Gary is we did a story a while back about how Gary had developed a workshop for Girl Scouts to teach them about role-playing, about playing Dungeons and Dragons, and how it's beneficial to them to, or to any kid actually, to have problem-solving skills. To, you know, so often people get stuck in front of the TV and there's no real, you're not really stretching your mind. And that's one of the beautiful benefits of role-playing, is that you use your imagination. You need to be in the moment, you need to be focused, you need to be thinking about what's going on, listening to folks, but also doing things by listening and creatively solving the issues that come up while you're doing a dungeon crawl, or while you're, you know, roaming around the countryside, or things like that. And what he's done, which has been wonderful, is that he's actually set it up so that there's a Girl Scout badge for role-playing, and the badge is beautiful. We'll be able to we'll show that in the video portion of this, so you can take a look at it. We'll also include an image of what the badge looks like in the podcast listing. So, welcome to the show, Gary.
Thank you, Brad.
And to get you up to speed, Gary, as to this to GlenCon. Glenn has he works for the Board Game Barrister in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and they do this annual convention, GlenCon, and the number of games that they have to play aren't really talked about in numbers. It's actually in volume and area that it takes up. They have a wall of games that is approximately 17 feet high, or I'm sorry, not 17 feet high, 7 feet high, by about 12 feet wide, and it's all board games that they have available for folks to play. So it's a free kind of convention that they can come to and be exposed to any number of board games and things like that. So it's really kind of a cool thing for people to be able to do in the Milwaukee area. So
that sounds nice.
Yeah, and
bring it to San Diego for me.
You bring Comic-Con here, and I will bring GlenCon there.
I think you'd be getting the better portion of the deal there, volume-wise, of what they would have to bring. I think we'd have to bring GlenCon and something else along with to balance that out.
We can bring some cheese.
Oh, see, there you go. Cheese makes it all better. Take that from a Wisconsinite. All right. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our game review, and we're going to start with something called Specter Ops. You want to tell us about that, Glenn?
I would love to tell you about that. I actually just finished playing it roughly 3 hours ago.
Nice.
Not for the first time, but... So, Specter Ops is brought to us by Plaid Hat Games, who I have loved what they've been doing lately. They also brought us Dead of Winter and Mice and Mystics, and this one is by Emerson. Oh boy, Masucci, I believe, is how you pronounce the last name. I'm probably getting it wrong because I'm in trouble with names, but this is 2 to 5 players, plays about 60 to 90 minutes. The concept of the game is, if you are at all familiar with Scotland Yard or Fury of Dracula, it kind of uses mechanics where one of you plays like the quote-unquote bad guy while everyone else is trying to capture him. In this one, if you are the bad guy, as it is, or, as I call it, misunderstood individual, you're a secret agent of ARC, and you have infiltrated a top-secret Raxon facility, attempting to complete 3 mission objectives before you escape. But you're being hunted by the genetically modified Raxon hunters. So, moving on the board, it's all spaces that are all have numbers, and the person who is the agent has basically a sheet that is a map of the board with all the location numbers on it, and he is marking on there where he is moving at all times. So the hunters don't know where he is for the most part. They know where he starts the game. If he ever becomes visible to them, he has to put his mini actually goes on the board. The hunters actually move around the board, represented by really cool looking miniatures. There's like one that's like a generic. It's like he's like a werewolf. There's a big old werewolf. There's like another guy it's a dude's head on an orangutan's body. So all these and they're really really great looking minis for this game. And you have, as I said, 3 objectives you have to complete. There's 3 of 4. So there's 4 that are on the board. You have to hit at least 3 of them and escape without running out of time. You have 40 turns to do this, or dying. If you die, you lose as well, because the hunters kill you, and then of course you can't complete your mission because you don't do much once you're dead, at least not in a board game. I like this one a lot. It has several different variations because if you go up to 5 players, one of the hunters is actually a traitor, and it's actually secretly working with the agent. So you kind of work to hamper the other hunters, and then at some point you basically reveal yourself as an agent as well, and can then help complete objectives. And of course, now you have to both get out to survive, because if any of the agents die, the agents lose.
Okay.
So, yeah, I like games like this where you really have to plan a lot of the moves you want to do, because if you ever cross paths with a hunter, even if you just cross through their line of sight, you have to at least put a token saying you were last seen moving in this direction.
Oh.
Because of course they see you, but you might duck around a building.
Sure.
So okay, I know he went that way. So, because otherwise it would be impossible to ever catch the guy, because you can't, as the hunters, you can't just go stand on the objectives, because the agents also have equipment that you might be able to incapacitate a hunter for a turn or two. So you can basically stun them, so you can go grab what you need to do and then try to get away. It really does some interesting mechanics. It's definitely taken Scotland Yard, which was one of the first games that did this whole thing of the moving by number and in secrecy with everyone else trying to catch you, and they've added the twist of the fact that you've got the last scene thing, because in Scotland Yard it's just you're moving around the city of London, so there is no last scene. In this one, you're moving around a complex, so of course, if someone runs down the hallway in front of you, you're going to see that they just ran past you.
Sure.
This one also, you can, if you're the hunters, you can try to kill the agent. Any attack you do, if you actually hit the agent, it does 1 point of damage, and the average agent has about 4 hit points. So you can't take a lot of punishment in this one.
Oh,
so you don't want to.
Yeah.
You don't want to go, guns blazing taking on the hunters, because you will lose.
Okay.
And I ran it twice this weekend at GlenCon, and everybody just loved the heck out of it. It's played really well. It takes a little getting used to navigating the board for some people, because the one complaint I would say is that the way the board is printed, if you don't have the brightest lights possible, it's hard to read the number of locations on the board.
Sure. Okay.
Which, as a hunter, doesn't matter, because you just move and you don't have to worry about the locations. If you're trying to secretly look where you want to move, and you have to get closer and closer to the board to see where things are, it kind of gives away what you're doing. Which
yes.
I keep going back to Scotland Yard. When the original one came out, it came with a hat, a baseball cap, basically. The new one comes with just this kind of a chintzy visor, but either way, it's when you wear it, that was so that when you are looking at the board with your head down, other players can't see where your eyes are moving. And that was just a genius thing that, of course, this one does not have, unfortunately, so that's why I have my Scotland Yard hat, so when I play this, I bust that out. So you can't see where I'm looking, which I think is a nifty thing, because the hunters will try anything they can to get any kind of advantage on you in these types of games, because a lot of times you're kind of banging your head against the wall until you just get lucky, and, oh, I just saw him run that way. Okay, now we have something to go on, because the first couple of turns, all you know is where they start. You don't know where they're going from there, so it's all right, you have to split up, because if you don't split up, the guy can just run around your big group and do everything he wants. But
Yep.
if you're split up, it's harder to corner someone when there's only one of you. So it's a great game. The learning curve is really not that hard. I mean, it took 10 minutes tops to get people up and running, and these are all people who have never played the game before.
Oh, nice.
So it's a really fun. I like these kind of these thinkers where you have to really plot out your moves, regardless of whether you're the hunters or the agents. You've got to think ahead of what you want to do. Think of not only what you're doing this turn, but what's your objective for the next 2 or 3 or 4 turns. Where are you trying to get to? What are you trying to block off if you're a hunter? Where are you trying? What can you use to hide behind if you're an agent? And there's other things too. Is everyone can move 4 spaces if you're on foot. The hunters get a car that can move 10, but of course you can only move on the roads. You can't move on the smaller paths. But the car also comes equipped with a motion sensor. So if you don't drive the car, you can use the motion sensor. And if the agent moves more than 2 spaces of his turn, it won't show you exactly where you is, but it'll show you a direction. It might say he is southeast of you, or he is northwest.
Okay.
So then you get a better idea. Okay, so the guy I have down in the southeast corner when he's up in the northwest, the guy in the southeast corner is doing nothing for me. Get your butt back up here because we need to go this way. Yep. So, but it's a lot of things. These types of games at times, it does suffer the one thing that sometimes any games where you have a cooperative element, you get the alpha gamer who will start just saying, all right, I'm going here, and in your turn you should do this, and you should do this, and you should do this. That's a problem. That's a problem with these sorts of games. It's not a problem with the game itself. It's a problem with people playing it. So that's one thing that if you're not used to co-ops, don't be that person.
Yes, nobody likes that.
If you already play co-ops and you are that person, stop being that person. And if you aren't that person, someone is doing it, don't let them boss you around.
Yep.
This is supposed to be a fun thing. Games are supposed to be fun. So, and this one I think is a lot of fun.
No, it looks really cool, and yeah, I put a picture of the game board on the YouTube video version of the show, and yeah, it is very dark, and it really fits with the theme. But as for gameplay, they might want to lighten that up a little bit, or maybe make the numbers or some of your text on there to help with that. And maybe make that a white or a lighter color to try to help with that.
And on Board Game Geek, they've got some really well-painted versions of the minis. The minis come unpainted, but they're gray plastic. They'll take paint really well, and they are really cool-looking minis. And they're about the right size for any type of tabletop game as well, which is always a bonus for me. If I can get multiple use out of stuff, I am even more likely to buy it. If I'm on the fringe of something and you say, well, these minis are pretty close to 28 millimeter. I'm like, go on.
Sold American.
So, yeah.
And it looks like this runs about
50 is retail.
Okay. And it looks like you can get a like-new version. Now, this is on BoardGameGeek.com. A like-new version that they have for $30. Now, we can't really attest to the condition of it. It says like new, but there are definitely options out there. If you can't find it in your local game store and they can't order it for you, the internet's always there to lend a helping hand. So, all right. Next up here, we're going to talk about something that I saw that kind of threw me for a loop a little bit, because I know that they've had a long-lasting relationship with one another, and it kind of shocked me. Steve Jackson Games to not renew Traveller license. Steve Jackson Games has been making GURPS source books for the Traveller system since 1998, and that will be coming to an end on December 31st of this year. This means that Steve Jackson Games will no longer be making or selling those products. So if you're a fan of the Gurps Traveller books, you've got until the end of the year to pick up any of the books that you want to have in your collection. Anything that's currently available will only continue to be so until their stock is out in the warehouse. There won't be any more print runs, between now and the end of the year. Lauren Weissman, line editor for Steve Jackson Games, has said, "All good things must come to an end. After over 50 products, not counting T-shirts and the like, working with Traveller has been more fun than human beings should be allowed to have, and we at Steve Jackson Games would like to thank Mark Miller and everyone else connected with Traveller for allowing us to play with our version of the game for 17 years. Thanks." Yeah, I mean, to me, a Traveller has always been associated with GURPS for me. What's your take on this, Glenn?
Traveller for me has always been associated as books I can rate for other source material because I don't like playing Traveller.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I like the universe, and I like the source material. I was never a fan of the gameplay itself, so both the original Traveller and I'm not a big fan of the GURPS system either.
All right, fair enough.
That's just my personal preference, but I think GURPS in general has tons of great source material that you can use for other games. So buy lots of it because it's very, very useful stuff. And you might like GURPS.
Yeah,
You might be like former guest Randy, who likes GURPS.
Yes, Randy Wolfmeyer is a definite fan of the GURPS. Gary, have you ever partaken of GURPS?
Oh yeah, it was one of the systems that a group of friends of mine, they really, really liked GURPS, and they used GURPS for just about everything. And we played games for years using GURPS. Now, I mean, it got a little complicated sometimes. They were playing high point characters, but
oh, okay.
I've always really liked it more at a gritty level, more at a less complicated level than they got into. Sure. But I love the books. I've got a ton of GURPS books on the shelf.
Nice. And have you ever played the Traveller stuff or Traveller as its own system?
I think the only time I've ever played Traveller was when was it Games Designers Workshop? They made Traveller, Mega Traveller. Mm-hmm. I played that. Yeah. That was a long time ago, but I seem to remember enjoying it. I never really got into Traveller itself.
Okay. But Traveller to me sounds a lot like Sonic Youth. Everybody's heard of it. Everybody's maybe heard a song from it, but overall they're not too keen on it. So there you go. All right. We're going to jump to Ryan Murphy here, who does the Galactic Gaming News. He's a regular contributor with Galactic Netcasts, and he covers more of the digital beat of gaming, and he has an update for us. So take it away, Ryan. All right, thanks for that, Ryan. Appreciate it. Next up here is the Kickstarter Spotlight, and we're going to do our recap from last week, which was 100 Swords. And that was something that you brought to us, Glenn. You want to give us the once-over on 100 Swords?
Yeah, 100 Swords. It's a two-player, sword-based, dungeon-crawling micro deck builder. What the micro part means is that basically the whole game is about the size of a poker-sized deck of cards. So this fits right in your pocket. It's a complete game. They were looking for $9,999. They have 11 days left, and they are at $40,629. So it's getting funded, definitely getting funded. You still have plenty of time to get in on it, and $14 gets you the game. Which gets you the Red Dragon Dungeon or the Blue Mammoth Dungeon. They have 2 different dungeons you can buy. Each one's its own complete game. Or for $27, you can get both. Save $1, get both of them.
There you go.
Either way, $27 for basically 2 complete games. Yes, they're shorter, but it's always good to have some filler games in your collection. You're waiting for Ted to show up, and Ted's always late, so you and Bob can play this. Or at the end of the night, you want something quick and easy, just to, well, we got 20 minutes left. What can we fit in? Boom, here you go. And I like the art on it. It's not like the super like fancy schmancy. We paid Tony DiRolizzi to come out and do his beautiful watercolor scenes. It's more of a, I don't know what I want to say. I don't want to really say. I mean simpler, but almost cartoonish in a way, art, and I think it fits. I think the kind of whole theme they're going for, and I think they had a ton of stretch goals, which a lot of their stretch goals wasn't based on an amount of money. It was based on how many backers they had. So
that is cool.
Yeah, so they are currently at 1,085 backers, which has unlocked several stretch goals. One of which that makes this game even better is that they have unlocked the solo rules, so you can play the game solo, which is kind of cool. I like games I can do that because I don't always have friends nearby, and I like to be able to play games whenever I want to play games, and I just can't play. I can't play Specter Ops by myself because I always win and lose because I always know where I am. So, yeah, it looks like a really cool, fun game, and I'm actually backing this one at the $27 level, so I'm getting both the 2 decks along with the Kickstarter promo cards. So.
Yeah, that's the K sword and the S sword. Which I'm sorry, I've been asleep at the wheel here. I need to do the screen share here for everyone to see. So, yeah, the K sword and the S sword.
Kick sword and starter sword.
But oh man, just so many cards, and to have solo gameplay and $27 for the 2 decks. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is truly wonderful. And you're right. It's always good to have, when you have friends over for game night, sometimes you want to get like a quick warm-up game in just to get people in the mood and focused on gaming, and this might actually help.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, this is a great find. So, all right, we're going to talk about our actual spotlight this week called Gods and Monsters. And this is from Altered Reality Games. And here we go. And their goal is 80,000. Right now, with 25 days left to go, they're at 23. So I think they're clipping a good pace there.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that this is going to happen. The interesting thing about this, and here's just a quick little snippet of text. Summon your followers, unleash your miracles, and claim your divine place among the gods. Gods and Monsters is a card-driven miniatures game. It begins by selecting a mythos, a god, to play and building your deck of miracles. By selecting from numerous combinations of cards, including mighty spell and recruitment cards, you will customize your forces and abilities to match your playstyle and strategy. As you play the game, you will build up your mighty forces by drawing recruitment cards and spending power to summon them. The models for your forces scale are all 28mm, so again, these can be reused for any miniature game that you play, all the way up to monstrous 127mm. So battles are absolutely epic. The game is balanced to support competitive play, but also has a dynamic story and scenario aspects to bring the gameplay to life. Now I'm going to do a screen share here real quick so everyone's all on the same page and can see what's going on here. The miniatures are absolutely stunning. And here's a broken down truck at the foot of this monstrous creature. Yeah, pledge levels. Let's talk about that real quick. I'm going to jump out of... There we go. $80. There we go. The Divine Early Bird. There's one left at this pledge level. Then it goes up to 85. And then 90. Oh, wow. They are... And then 95. So the sooner you get in on this, the cheaper it will be for you. So if you are fortunate enough to get this last slot here, that's $80. Will get you all of the core of the game. We're going to talk about what all that includes here in a second. But yeah, if you fall asleep at the wheel here, it could cost you up to 95. So if you want this, you want to get on it right away. Excuse me. You get your decks because, like it said earlier, it's a deck-building miniatures game. So you get your decks, you get your dice, and oh my God, I have to share this because it's absolutely gorgeous. So if you were checking us out on YouTube, this miniature of one of the gods is 5 inches tall. That is 127 millimeters of awesomeness. It's just insane. Absolutely.
They gotta
insane.
say that the $80, even the $85 level, that's for chumps.
Yeah.
Chumps. You want to back this?
Yeah.
You want to back this? You do it at the $750 level, and you receive a full color custom art piece of yourself as either a devoted manifestation, herald, or god. You can be a god for only $750. How is that not a good idea?
Tell you what, Glenn, you first.
Skip rent. Skip rent and become a god.
Yep. You can miss a mortgage payment or two, right? And what's kind of cool here too is they do have the Parthenon pledge level, which is for retailers only, and we've kind of talked about this in the past. It's really cool when companies do a Kickstarter version for retailers so that they can also get on board and get your game out there, because Kickstarter is wonderful and it has done a lot of wonderful things for people, but once the Kickstarter project is over, you need to win retailers over to get your product into the store and to keep things rolling for you and your company. So it's nice when they offer something for the retailers to get on early and be able to get a taste of the game and pass that on and recommend it to customers if it's a good game. So I think that's awesome. It's cool that they're doing that. All right.
Kickstarter should.
Gary, have you backed Kickstarter games in the past? And if so, what's been your overall impression of Kickstarter for gaming in general?
Well, the big ones are obviously the Reaper Bones
Yes.
Kickstarters. The third one they just finished yesterday, with a fairly impressive finish as well. But the one game I backed was Shadows of Brimstone by Flying Frog.
Okay.
Which is kind of a horror western game. And I was very excited to see that come. The miniatures were a bit of a pain to put together, but overall, I'm impressed with the product, and I can't wait to see what else they come out with.
Yeah, Flying Frog does a great job with their games.
Yeah.
Everything they've done, and I just picked up last night on Earth and the first base expansion, and I have the Mars Invasion game, and those.
Invasion from Outer Space.
Yeah, thank you.
It's right there. Along with Shadows of Brimstone and Last Night on Earth and Touch of Evil.
My game closet is completely disheveled, and I have to actually tear my closet apart, and I'm building a new storage system for my games. But it was interesting. Yeah, I was trying to glue the helmets onto the Martians, and unfortunately, if you use, oh my God, the word escapes me. Super glue, thank you. If you use that on the edge and then put it on there, it kind of wicks up the sides a little bit, which it hurt me a little bit because I'm.
Well, it just looks like they're breathing heavy then.
Yeah, we'll have to call it condensation and the failed ventilation system as they're on Earth, because their systems aren't used to Earth atmosphere. We'll call it that and call it good. But yeah, I know what you're saying about miniatures. Can be hard to put together for some games and can be a little putsy, but the game mechanics for the Flying Frog stuff, I have yet to be disappointed by any of their products.
They are fun games. That's what it comes down to.
Absolutely. So yes, our spotlight this week is Games and Monsters from Altered Reality Games. As of this point, on the 26th of July, there are 25 days to go. So we highly recommend you get on board and slide them some cash, and you're probably gonna end up with a game that you're absolutely not gonna regret playing. And the miniatures look great. Totally reusable for other games, and if you dream up creatures and stats, you could use those miniatures for other games as well. So we highly recommend it. All right, we are going to talk now with Gary Astleford, and he, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, he's done something truly wonderful in the San Diego area. He's a Girl Scout leader, troop leader, and has put together a workshop for Girl Scouts to get into role-playing games and Dungeons and Dragons, to be specific. We're going to talk with Gary about, especially what version. I'm assuming it's 5, but we'll find out from Gary, and talk a little bit about his career and how he came up with the idea, and if there are resources, if there are other troop leaders maybe in other parts of the country that are interested in doing this. Maybe recommendations, maybe suggestions on how you could set up something like what Gary has created as well. So welcome, Gary.
Hey, it's good to be here still.
What drew you into your career in games and gaming?
Well, see, during high school I was gaming a lot, and I discovered that I liked writing, so eventually I kind of put the two together. I was creating my own content, my own rules, and I was posting them on the internet, which at the time was a little bit smaller than it is now.
Sure.
Dating myself. And I wanted to see if I could get some of this stuff published, and so I, worked at it, and I eventually got an article published in Dungeon Magazine.
Nice.
And after that, it was pretty easy. I mean, I landed a bunch of other projects with other companies, and I did a lot of networking. And eventually it opened some doors for me, and one of those opportunities was Mythic Entertainment, who was working on Warhammer Online. And I ended up getting a job there, and now I've been in the computer games industry since 2007. 3 different companies, 2 different cross-country moves, but yeah, there's no other job like it. Being able to go to work and work on something that is creative and that you love is far and away better than going to a job that is just a job to carry you from month to month.
No, we agree fully. If you do something you're passionate about, you're not actually working ever. So, no, that's really cool. What prompted you to become a supporter of the Girl Scout organization and ultimately creating this workshop?
Cookies, man. Cookies.
Fair enough. I'm a big fan of the Thin Mints myself.
Actually, my daughter, she was 6 at the time, and she expressed interest in joining the Girl Scouts. And I had a heck of a time finding a troop in our area that she would be able to join. And eventually I met another parent who also had kids that she wanted to get into the Scouts, and the 2 of us formed our own troop. And so I was a troop leader after that. Most people don't know or realize that men can be troop leaders, but as long as there's 2 troop leaders and one of them is a woman,
cool.
You can have a man as a troop leader in your troop. So as I became exposed to the Girl Scouts and what they stood for, I became very interested in supporting their values. They've got a lot of really good values for kids growing up. Not just girls, but boys as well. But ultimately, Girl Scouts is about empowering girls and teaching them to be leaders in their communities.
Sure.
So as a guy in this woman's world, because I go to these unit meetings and I'm the only guy sitting there, and it's not easy in the beginning. It wasn't always easy, but they know me now, so it's a lot easier than it used to be. But I've learned a lot. I've made a lot of wonderful friends in the process.
Oh, that's very cool. Now, what was your aha moment when you said, I think that role-playing games would be great to bring to the Girl Scouts? What prompted you to make that jump?
Well, as a father, I was always looking for opportunities to teach my own kids about gaming, and it always seems like they're too young. My son was 5, and I'm like, okay, roll the die. All right, I'll do the math for you. But I've always wanted to teach. I've always liked teaching people games, and with the Girl Scouts, they do a lot of different things. I mean, it's not just camping. They go biking together. They do. They have game nights. They have movie nights. All sorts of stuff. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice if I could teach some of these girls to play D&D or play any other role-playing game? Because obviously the older ones would probably love it. And tabletop role-playing games have traditionally been the purview of boys.
Yeah.
You don't. When I was growing up, I didn't know any girls that played. And nowadays it's a lot more common, but it's still, it can still be in the minority.
Sure. Yep.
So crossing those, breaking those gender stereotypes seemed like a good idea, and I went to my local service unit and I pitched an idea for a workshop. What actually got me thinking about it originally was this movie. It was a short video called D&D and G, D&D and Girls, and in the video they get some guys who have been like boys, probably 8 to 10 years old, who've been playing D&D for a while, and they get a few girls who have never played D&D, and some of them haven't even heard of it. And they play D&D with the girls, and then they put the two together and have them play a game together. And they get their opinions about, how do you think the boys will play? How do you think the girls will play? And I just thought it was neat showing these girls how to play, and they all ended up having so much fun. So that was part of the impetus there too.
Nice.
But yeah, it's been an adventure. It really has.
So how would you say the playing styles from boys versus girls? What is there any difference? I mean, we kind of perceive that there might be a difference, but is there actually?
Well, there are stereotypes, and some of them seem to excuse me, they seem to play themselves out really well. Girls like to, in my experience so far, girls like to figure out what their characters look like. They like to draw their characters. They like the cute races. They like halflings. They like elves. But the stereotype that girls are always more a little cerebral about things, and they try to solve problems non-violently. That's just a bunch of malarkey. We do have. I mean, we have had some groups that have solved problems without violence, but for the most part, the girls, they start out very reserved when it comes to a combat situation, and
Sure.
Once the dice get rolling, they just rush right in, and so I think the action and excitement of it is a big draw for both genders.
Sure. So hack and slash is definitely not just a boy thing. That's universal, and that's cool.
And that's the other thing. I didn't want to focus on violence with these games because people have very strong opinions about violence. But to me, adventure fiction, there's always an enemy. There's always some kind of threat. And I just tried to stick to threats that weren't necessarily human. Wolves or spiders, that sort of thing.
Sure. Yep. I'm going to do a screen share here of the character sheet, and I wanted us to kind of talk about the sheet and how you've gone about streamlining this, because the way you've laid this out, it's very straight. Straightforward is not the best thing, but it's easy to focus on the individual bits that need to be filled out. And how did you come about with coming up with this style of character sheet for your game?
In the beginning, I was just planning to do pre-gen characters,
Mm-hmm.
but the the workshop format that I'd written, to earn the badge, you have to make your own characters. So it didn't make sense to give them characters that were already made, and making your own character tends to invest you more in the game itself. So
Sure.
I went back and forth on different character sheets for a while. I mean, if you can imagine being someone who's never played D&D, and you take a look at a standard character sheet, it can be intimidating for you.
Oh, yes.
So for the workshop, an important part of the process was creating a character, and I didn't want to bog the proceedings down. So I tried to condense everything into specific elements that the girls could digest easily. But even then, even when you're character creating with this particular sheet, it's the slowest part of the process, because you have to explain a lot of things, and some of these concepts are foreign. But the girls do pick it up pretty quick, and the characters they create end up being entirely functional and completely unique.
Yeah, I'm just flipping through some of the sheets, how you've got things. I really enjoy how you have the class features set up, and you really kind of point people in a direction, and you take sometimes the hardest part and the most time spent is tricking out your character, getting all the equipment, and it's nice that you're like, okay, this is the equipment that your character has, and it's functional and it fits for that character class, and that a bag of 1,000 ball bearings for a thief, absolutely brilliant.
I was just chuckling on that myself.
Yes, absolutely brilliant, and the string and a bell, beautiful.
Well, I can't take credit for that. That's taken straight from 5th edition D&D.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. But
so the edition that you play is 5th?
Yeah, it is. I was never a big fan of 4th. I was always a 3.5 guy. I got a lot of my first writing credits on D20 3.5. And although I loved it, it's just a little too fiddly for this kind of workshop.
Yep.
And when 5th edition came out, I was skeptical, but I picked it up and I started reading it, and I said, you know what? This is really inclusive. This is really down to earth. It's a lot simpler than it used to be. There's not as much twinking, and there still is some twinking, but it's not anywhere near the way it was. And it just seemed like the natural choice.
Sure.
Plus, it's a new game. It's easily accessible. You can find it anywhere, from a local bookstore to a game shop or Amazon. And that was also another part of it. I wanted a system that the girls could pick up and play. If they liked it, they could go out and they could purchase it or beg their parents to purchase it for them.
Sure. No, that makes perfect sense, because if you were to throw out 2nd edition, but with FACO and everything, that would be really tough. But you can't find it anymore. So absolutely, that was a brilliant thing to do to make sure it was something that was readily available, so that if they did enjoy it, like you said, that they could get on board and share the joy with others. That's awesome. What benefits do you think that the troops that you've worked with, because you do a workshop, but it's also something that other troops in the San Diego area can contact you and set up a time for you to do a workshop with their troop. Mm-hmm. What benefits do you think that each of the troops have gained from having these sessions?
Well, outside of having fun, because in all the workshops I've run for all the girls I've run them for, they've definitely enjoyed themselves. You'll get some girls who look a little bit more bored than others, but as the game moves and different things happen, different levels of interest are piqued. But as far as the benefits outside of the enjoyment of it, I believe that it really allows them to do something new. They can play a game they may have never known about or considered playing because it's too geeky or it's for boys. They can use their imaginations when they make their characters. They come up with the way their characters look, their personalities, and when the game starts, they learn about playing different roles, interacting with NPCs, speaking to one another and me in character, and when and if combat begins, although I probably should just say when, not if, they look at it and they begin to see ways to help one another and engage the enemy intelligently. It's just funny to watch them, how dynamic it is when you can see the gears moving inside their heads as they look where the say the wolves are, and they want to move to them without getting attacked, or they want to find a nice safe place that they can shoot at them from, and or if they can help one another. That's also pretty cool. So
Yeah.
it teaches them teamwork. It teaches them creativity, and in the cases where there are problems and they have to solve them creatively, it helps them with that too.
Yeah, and because Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, for that matter, are very much about teaching leadership, those skills and socialization and things like that, an RPG is like a brilliant fit for those organizations.
Oh yeah, there are so many different benefits to this hobby that most people wouldn't consider, you know?
No, absolutely.
And I don't know for sure how many girls have continued to play after the workshop, but the way I see it, if at least one of them walks away from it and says, I really like this, I really want to play more, and it sparks an interest in just one girl, I think I've done my job, and I can sleep good at night knowing that.
No, that's really cool. Let's say, I mean, because you do your work specifically in the San Diego area, and you have a job, you're not really going to be able to travel to Portland or to Boston or anything like that. If there were other Girl Scout troops that were interested in doing something like this in their area, what would you recommend that they do? What steps do you think they could possibly take to do something like you've done here?
I've been contacted by a lot of scouts across the nation, a lot of troop leaders wondering how they can do it themselves. I mean, obviously, as you said, I don't have the wherewithal to travel the country, although I wish I did.
Yeah.
But if you're a leader and you're already a gamer, don't be afraid of owning that you're a gamer. It's not so much a taboo to be a geek in our society anymore.
Yep.
And some people, when they hear the title D&D or Dungeons and Dragons, it conjures specific thoughts in their minds. But this is mostly because they're not informed about the game.
Yep.
So you need to be an advocate for gaming. You need to be willing to teach both children and adults that tabletop role-playing games are fun and worthwhile. The most difficult part is for a troop leader who has no experience with D&D, no experience with gaming. That might be a little more difficult, excuse me, because there's really not a lot to fall back on. So what they need to do is they have to find friends or relatives who play. I mean, there's always one black sheep, right? And lacking that, they need to go to a game store. They need to meet folks, participate in a game or two if they can. And if all that fails, just read the basic rules that are free online. Try it out on your own. Make some characters. Run a game. Roll some dice. And create, imagine, and enjoy yourself, because that's what it's all about.
Sure.
But either way, running an event for your scouting organization outside of your own troop or your pack might require you to engage with folks on your local service unit or council, and that's okay, because I was initially worried that the ladies on my service unit would look at me like I had three eyes when I said, hey, I want to run D&D for the girls. But they were actually very interested and very supportive, and you need to don't expect them to immediately turn you back and say, no, this is too weird, because they're always looking for something to do. Ultimately, scouting is about the kids, and if we can bring them an activity that is beneficial and fun, I think we've succeeded.
Absolutely. And right now I am sharing a picture of the actual badge for D&D for the Girl Scouts, and
that's really cool.
That is beautiful. Who designed that, Gary?
Well, it was kind of in the beginning it was my wife and I, and she's got a little more graphical experience than I do. She went online and she found a dragon image that was public domain. Okay. I mean, as long as we list where we found it, which is on the Dungeon Scouts site, we have a list and a link that sends you there. We could use it for free. I mean, we're not selling this thing, so
yep.
It's for charity. We added some color to it. We put a dye in there, and the initial design was a little bit different. But when I sent it to the patch company, the patch company I used does official patches for the Girl Scouts too.
Okay.
So they had some recommendations based on the way the Girl Scouts would prefer them to do things.
Okay.
And they put it all together as you see it now, and I was very impressed with it. And I said, yeah, that's it, let's do it. And they created them for me.
That's gorgeous. And just for the folks that are listening to the audio-only version of this, we will have a link in the show notes for you to actually see the image of the Girl Scout badge. But it is boy, it's a winged serpent, with the full-on dragon head and the red eyes, and a D20 in the lower left-hand corner, and it's got the green, the standard Kelly green background for what you would associate the Girl Scout colors, and it's got the Girl Scout. Is that like a clover or?
It's they call it a trefoil, but it's basically like a 4-leaf clover, yeah.
Okay, and that's in the lower right-hand corner of the patch, and it is
actually. Let me take that back. It's not a 4-leaf clover; it's a 3-leaf clover.
With the base. Yep.
Yeah, it's like a shamrock, basically.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, and it is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm sure that any Girl Scout that would love to have this on there because it's unique, absolutely unique, and I'm sure that would be great stories to tell for other Girl Scouts who might meet other Girl Scouts that had not had that opportunity to have the workshop and have them ask, what's that all about? That is just absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All right. So for if somebody were to start this and character sheet wise, could they just contact you to use the character sheets that you've set up, or how would you recommend going about doing that?
Well, shortly after I hosted the first big workshop, I put together a website called DungeonScouts.com, and pretty much everything you need to run your own workshops is available there. So I posted the adventures, I posted the character sheets, I think, and the world. I created a unique setting for the Girl Scouts, which is based on a lot of the Girl Scout mythology, if you will, and it's all there. So you don't need to go out and buy anything if you don't really want to. You can use the basic D&D rules, which are available for free on the D&D website.
Yes, and that site again is DungeonScouts.com, and if you have an interest in doing this for your Girl Scout troop, absolutely check out DungeonScouts.com and open up a whole new world that is available for folks that might not necessarily think about role-playing games as something that they might be interested in or doing, because there are, as Gary said, there's a lot of cool benefits for role-playing, and one of those is definitely socialization, teamwork, team building, thinking outside of the box to solve a problem. Not all problems are solved by bashing it in the head with a warhammer. Doesn't work that way all the time. But no, this is such a wonderful thing, and I really wanted to talk to you, Gary, about this because it's truly fascinating, and I'm glad that you've done something like this and also made it available for other people to check out and do in their area too. So, because there's so many wonderful benefits to be gained from this, and that's great that you share this with folks. So, thank you for that.
No problem. Thank you. It's been a fun ride. I'm as of now, it's more of a local badge. This badge is local to my council, or rather, sure. It's San Diego, but it's my service unit, and I've been contacting the Girl Scouts of San Diego to see what I can do to make this a more official, recognized badge. Okay. And I don't have any news yet, but when and if I do, I will let you know.
Oh, that would be wonderful, because we would love to share that news. Absolutely.
Yeah, especially my girlfriend has 2 daughters who just started playing D&D actually recently. So, and they are loving it so far, and I believe they're both scouts. I know at least one of them is. So,
how old are they?
They are 9 and 10.
Oh, awesome! Great ages.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Gary. We're gonna start to wrap things up here, and we're going to talk about Hello, My Name Is. That's the opportunity for you, the listeners and viewers of the show, to tell us about your favorite character that you've had the opportunity to play or are currently playing at this time. You can go to galacticnetcasts.com and click on the Adventure Party page, and there is a link for Hello, My Name Is. You can click that, fill out a short form, yeah, I do ask for an email address, but its only purpose is to email you back a certificate saying that we talked about you and your character on the show. I don't collect names. I have no interest in spamming people. That's time I don't have in my day, and I don't care to fill people's inbox with crap. So that's not going to happen. So. And we want to thank Gary so much for taking the time to talk to us. And where can people find out more about you and your work?
I have a personal website, GaryAstleford.com. It's one big word, .com, where it probably needs a little bit of updating, but you can find me there. The Dungeon Scouts site, obviously, is where you can find about the Dungeon Scouts. I've got a LinkedIn profile. You can probably find me pretty easily there as well.
All right. And Glenn, also want to thank you for joining me once again on this grand adventure. Where can people find out more about you and your Mistrunner RPG?
You can find out more about me on Facebook. You can find me at Naked Hobo Productions for my film reviews and B-Movie Bunker, and for the game Mistrunner RPG or Mistrunner.com. Or just follow me on Twitter at Naked Hobo.
I love that name. I can't. I will always ask you where people can find out more about you, because I need to hear Naked Hobo from somebody's mouth at some point in time, because it fills me with joy, Glenn, is really what it is. You can find Adventure Party by going to galacticnetcasts.com. There you can find all of our social media outlets and our YouTube channel, where you can see the video version of the Adventure Party, which always appears first, and then the audio portion appears later. If you're using iTunes or Stitcher to listen to the audio show, please take a moment to give us a review and let us know what you think. Your review, positive or negative, can help share and help shape the Adventure Party, help make it better and expose other people to it. So yeah, just let us know what you think. I'm not going to ask you for a 5-star review on iTunes or anything like that, because maybe you don't think it's 5 stars, and that's cool. Just let us know why, and we'll see what we can do to modify the show or address an issue that you might have. You can leave us feedback by emailing galacticnetcasts@gmail.com, or you can call us or text us at 805-328-3966. That's 805-328-3966. And you can leave us a message or a text message at that number. You can also go to galacticnetcasts.com, and on the right-hand side of the screen, you will see it's a WordPress plugin that we have, so that if you have a microphone that's attached to your computer, you click on that icon and you can actually leave a voice message through your computer. Technology is awesome. So let us know what you think, and it will shoot out an email to us, and we can listen to that and play it on the show and talk about what you got to say. So thank you so much for joining us at the Adventure Party. May your characters never die and your adventures always be epic. Good night.